behind the president in his vision of resetting the nation and building the economy and the nation we want. Let us build this future together, where innovation drives opportunity, responsibility builds trust, and revenue fuels national development. Thank you very much, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much. That's a good one. Please put it together again. Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Kwesi Sapong. So, for clarification, everything we read about Mr. Sapong was correct up to some point. We didn't scratch it. Those credentials and experience belong to him. But of course, the additional point to be made is that he is currently the acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Please put your hands together for him. I believe that was a lot of food for thought. Forgive me when I move away. I'm not used to being in one station. So it makes it a little more interactive. But that's a lot of food for thought. And as he spoke, I was thinking about the GRA. Yesterday, I got a call from the GRA. Yesterday. I can show it to you. Whilst I was waiting in the car park to pick up my children from school, I get a call. A young lady, clearly. That voice, it doesn't sound like my mother's voice. Is this, and then she has sometimes white forms, sometimes pink forms, depending on what you are depending on what you are feeling for. In some place in a long queue, only to go and say that nail, or say that it's 100 cedis to pay you or 20. The digital platform really has changed a lot. It has revolutionized a lot. On your phone, wherever you're sitting, wherever I am, I'm just able to. If you miss it by a day, you pay some penalties. That, please don't forget, because that one, don't smile. But it has made a lot of difference in terms of the payment time and things like that. There's a question I'll be asking you when we are having this discussion. I know Professor Tolek and all these gurus are here. But no matter what they say, I disagree with them before they answer it. I don't understand why in issuing a VAT certificate, I charge 100 cedis. We know the VAT rate. But I have to add some NH something, which is not for me, and some other one which is not for me, and yet another one which is not for me, 3 of them, and add those 3 to my money and pay tax and pay VAT to you on the addition of all those. It really doesn't make sense to me. If you charge me VAT on my 100 cedis, I get you. Why is government collecting 0.5 of that, adding it to the money I collected, charging another 0.5, adding to the money I collected, charging another amount, adding it to my money, before applying your VAT onto an amount that includes your money? I don't know if you get my point. So why are you charging me VAT on your own money? What? No. Let's not do future. We are only alive at the time when we are. So it's an issue for me. For the young ones, I don't know if you get it. I mean, those who have some businesses. I pay you 100 cedis. You have to pay VAT on it, no problem. Or you have to pay NHIL, whatever. Yes, pay. So give me the calculate that amount on it, that amount on it, this and that, VAT on it. Calculate the total tax and let me pay you. But don't add your own money to my money as if that is my money before applying the VAT on it. You are charging me 2 times, in a sense. Your money is not my money. Why should I pay tax on your money? So please, we need to look at that. I think that we need to make some noise about this. You agree, don't you? Thank you. Yeah. So sometimes when you don't complain, that's what our account friends say. That payment I've paid over the time, I think we should recoup it. We have to find a way. But on to more serious business, we'll move on to our discussion right away before anybody gets bored. What's the time? 10:48. Yeah, quickly, and then we can have our discussion and take a break. It means our break goes forward a bit. But please remember that this is the first ever Boateng Business Conference. Remember it? The Boateng Business Conference. Our main theme is the future of business creating businesses with conviction, innovation, and responsible practices. And so, to throw some more light on what has happened, I will invite up to the podium right now, high table here, Mr. Anthony Kwesi Sapong, Acting Commissioner General of the GRA, who you've just heard. Please take a seat, sir. I would also invite, and you've already heard his profile, so I don't have to go through that again, but I'll invite two additional gentlemen whose profiles I will read to you shortly. The next is Mr. Francis Timori. Mr. Francis Timori, can you join us up here? Hey, and then a blast. Okay, so that is my solo chair. Please, thank you very much. And then Mr. Alexander Haviewusi. Hey, okay, yeah, sure. So Mr. Alexander Haviewusi, I will tell you our story one day. Maybe if we take our profiles further back, we'll have a common school in on it for us. So who is Mr. Francis Timori? Francis is a tax lawyer and senior consultant with over 18 years experience in taxation, audit, financial and capital markets, and business advisory. He is a transfer pricing expert specializing in transfer pricing documentation and tax risk and cross-border taxation. He has worked for Unilever Ghana PLC as assistant manager in charge of taxation and Guinness Ghana Breweries PLC as a senior tax manager. He has also worked for telecom giant MTN Ghana as the lead tax specialist overseeing the company's tax and cross-border tax activities. Francis is a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Ghana, which means he's a lawyer here in Ghana, with experience in litigation and project advisory on taxation, commercial, and financial matters. Francis has been involved in various projects including tax due diligence, that is, advising on taxpayer remedies and resolution of disputes with revenue authorities, training, providing general advice on market access, investment strategies, and assessing investment incentives. Francis holds a Master of Laws degree from the University of London in Corporate and Commercial Laws, as well as a Bachelor of Laws degree from the Gimpa Law School. He holds a postgraduate advanced diploma in transfer pricing from Thomas Jefferson School of Law, San Diego, California, USA. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana and a member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation Ghana. He has a Master of Philosophy degree, we generally call it an MPhil, in finance, as well as a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, first class honors, all from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. We simply call it tech in our days. Francis also holds a master's degree in finance from Central University, has associate degree in legal studies from the Institute of Commercial Management, UK. He's a product of Sunyani Technical University with a higher national diploma in accountancy. He teaches international taxation, oil and gas taxation, and advanced taxation at Moore Tax Academy. He's a regular contributor to tax columns in the Business and Financial Times. Please put it together for Francis Timori. Mr. Haviewusi has always been a very simple man, I can tell you for a fact. So he's giving us a very brief and simple profile. Alexander Haviewusi is a tax practitioner with over 25 years of work experience with the Ghana Revenue Authority. It means he goes all the way back to the days when it was IRS. He commenced his professional career in taxation with the erstwhile VAT service, now the Ghana Revenue Authority. Alexander has been involved in the implementation of a number of key tax policies and has led teams on several tax engagements. His expertise spans various sectors including public held corporations as well as private sector businesses. Alexander is a Chief Revenue Officer and works in the Office of the Commissioner, Domestic Tax Revenue Division. Please put it together for Alex. So I think everyone has their own microphone, which will make life easier for all of us. At some point, we'll take questions from the floor. most definitely. Sometimes I think those questions actually are the more important ones. They are the living questions for you. They are things that you know uh, uh, come to bear on the things that we have. But gentlemen, good morning to you,
Good morning.
and welcome to the table. Our topic is an interesting one, isn't it? It says tax management in Ghana essentially. We're looking at tax management in Ghana essentially. Let me begin with you, Commissioner, for good reason, because I want a bird's eye view at this time. In terms of tax management, what is the overall observation for you? We heard your speech, we heard the things you're seeing going, we had the changing scenes, what different businesses are doing. It's no more brick and mortar where you are banging on our doors and breaking them down. This time people are sitting behind their computers and they are doing work. How is the management going generally? Are you satisfied? Are you at 50, 60, 90? Where do you stand? Right.
Two, two,
Right.
two, two, two.
That would be great.
This is how we structure the tax management and administration.
Great, thank you very much. I will definitely come back for that clarification you mentioned at some point before we leave this place. But I think that I'm also guided that a lot of the focus, I should make sure, deals with SMEs for the most part of this discussion, because seems to be the target group that we have here. Francis, let me come to you. I mean, for purposes of dealing with SMEs and talking generally about tax, what are their obligations? How does that work? You have an SME of any kind. We definitely know the GRA is always there. We will definitely have some obligations. Simply put, for these young people thinking of setting up things or who already have things going, what must they pay attention to? What must they do? Is it still 25% though for the companies? I'm not sure. Still 25. Right. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay, so let's clarify this. You're saying that if you're a company, your corporate income tax is 25% on profit, right? Or your taxable profit. Now the technical people are correcting us. So once we figure out what your taxable profit is, 25% of that is corporate income tax. If you are a sole proprietor, which many people begin and do where it's just you are saying that it is not fixed. There's a scale. So or bands, as some people call it. So what you pay depends on where you fall in terms of the profit you make. And the maximum is 35%. 600,000 a year. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Income should not be taxed, so we call it exempt income. For example, you are an
before you move on, so that we are clear. So your point is that, and people, so that we pay attention to it, there's some confusion. Talking about the sole proprietors. Sole proprietors also employ people sometimes, right? So that treatment is important. I don't want us to take anything for granted. If you're a company, we know you have staff, you are paying normal. If you're a partnership, you know you are more than one, because you cannot have a one-person partnership. If you're a sole proprietor, you still may have 5 people that work for you. I mean, you can go to somebody's shop, we'll go and bring the oil. All those people work for you, yet you are still registered as a sole proprietor. How do you treat that for purposes of taxation? I want that clarification. Yes. Okay. Yes. Right. Right. Agent. Okay. 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 Sure.
So registration becomes the first obligation. After that, then the GRA will sit down and say, what are the various taxes that you are supposed to collect, which you are acting as an agent. Remember that money you are acting as an agent. It's not your money. We are just using it to collect. For example, if you are paying suppliers, the law requires that you take withholding taxes. If you are paying your employees, or maybe you are selling and the transaction is supposed to be subjected to VAT, you charge me 2,000 cedis. Add the VAT to it, comes to let's say 2,500. That 500 on it is not your money. Go and give it to the GRA. So those agency rules or responsibilities also comes under you. At the end of the year, you also have a filing obligation where you submit your documents to GRA and say, this is my total sales I've made, and this is the financial statement or my affairs. Then they will assess it. If there are any taxes you are supposed to pay, then you pay. Immediately you register, there could be some quarterly payment that you have to make. So those quarterly obligations too, you have to also satisfy. But as a consultant, you see that most of sole proprietors, they register, they just put up a shop and then start doing business. But the basic requirement is that first register with the Ghana Revenue Authority, try and go to Senate, and go and register potentially for people you have employed, because you need to pay for their pensions. And then any other regulatory body that you think, sometimes you may have to go to the district assemblies to go and pay your written permit fees. So all of these things are some registration and regulatory requirements that you need to comply with. Then you start business.
Alex, let me come to you, and it's still sort of flowing from there before I give you a substantive question. So we understand that we've done the registration, whatever form of business it is, and all. You mentioned withholding tax, and I can say that when I, for example, issue an invoice and it goes out, a lot of companies will pay me. I notice that it's less withholding tax. What happens to that withholding tax that I have paid? How do I benefit from it? How is it computed against that final returns or filings that I make at the end of the year? So people understand whether they've lost that money or it is to their credit and benefit, and in what way.
So, like we said, it's been said earlier, the Commissioner General, or first of all, the GRA Commissioner General, is responsible for giving effect and then administering the tax laws. Now, this means that there are a number of tax laws that regulate the activities that we engage in. So, for purposes of what you said, we are now going to turn our attention to the Income Tax Act 2015, Act 896. Now, withholdings, for the purposes of what you said, is tackled under Section 116. So basically, what that section says is that if I'm paying for goods and services, what I ought to do is to withhold an element of it, which is dictated by the tax law. So for goods, you're supposed to withhold a percentage of 3. When it's goods and services, it's also specified. If it's works or contracts, it's also specified. Now, what happens is when you withhold that amount, you are supposed to, at the end of the month, prepare a schedule, and then before the 14th of the subsequent month, go to Commissioner General or go to our tax portal and then make those payments that you withheld on behalf of the person. So let's say I was paid and it was a respect of bonus. What I want to do is to withhold 3% of the fixed part of the bonus, which is your money.
Right.
And then when I withhold, so when I withhold the 3%,
Yes.
the next month, from the 1st to the
14th. Yes.
what I do, I go on the portal with your particulars. What have your name, I have your name, I have the category of goods or description of goods,
Yes.
the total amount,
Right.
and then the tax that is being against the 3% here.
Right.
And then what I do is give it to GI. Then get report it to the tax office.
Aha.
When I get the tax certificate, I'm supposed to return it to you.
Okay.
Now to you is an upfront payment of taxes.
Right.
An upfront payment of taxes. So when you're so quiet, for example, your period of accounting is a calendar year. So after the 31st of December, you're supposed to pay your account.
Right.
Now all those withholdings that were taken to your amount,
Yes.
it has been given to you,
Yes.
will serve as a credit. So when you prepare your account and there's any tax payable, you look at the tax paid because that says
That is paid.
and if there's any balance, then you pay. If not, then CG would refund the excess.
Okay. But what about the situation where you can't get the tax certificate? I've had personal issue with some entities who simply won't give you any withholding tax certificate. They withhold and pay you less. Yet I don't have the certificate. You call them all your life. I mean, I have personal examples. I don't want to sound publicly from institutions, national institutions we know. And you go for your tax because you say you have withheld X or Y, and it's a problem. What accounts for that? In the past, I remember that yellow, sometimes yellow or pink or green. I remember that I have a lot from years ago. These days, your number is supposed to reflect it something on your portal. I don't know. They say it's supposed to reflect on your portal. I've never seen it.
So that is why CG is driving digital transformation in the system.
Okay.
What basically we're doing now, and we are piloting currently, all the invoices or let's say the certificate that was supposed to be put in, automatically once it's filed, like I told you, after the end of the last week of the month, the first of the subsequent month, and to the 14th, if the person files, automatically your ledger is credited. So there is no need.
So if it is not credited, does it mean the person didn't file? And why am I carrying the burden of that? CG, I'm sure you get my question. There's something that happened maybe 2 years ago. Up to now, a national body. I called the CFO a number of times. That credit never came to me. And we just decided to let it go. And we ended up having to pay. How do we ensure that we gain from that which has been withheld from us? How long can that go on for? How long does it lose validity? I mean, if the company doesn't pay for 2 years, does it affect me? Okay. Yes. Okay. 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 All right. Permit me to ask some of these questions which are not really traditional, and I hope they are useful because I want to do the everyday living sort of questions. Again, another question I have is, we know that everybody is supposed to file personal income taxes as well, right? I'm told that there's a very low compliance level in this country. Whatever it is, many people don't. But am I correct in saying that if you're a sole proprietor, your thing is the same as a business you registered, or do you get a different one? Because I think that I get that a lot. A company tin number can be GHA whatever, or CTE something, you registered PIN whatever, if it's a partnership, or PN and all that. But if it's an individual who then has a sole proprietorship registered, I think now they use a Ghana card. They use a Ghana card for it, and that Ghana card is still what is used for the business you register as a sole proprietor, which means that your TIN number as a sole proprietor is the same as your personal number, which is also reflected by your card. Is that correct? How then do you do the filings? Are you doing, when you do the business filing, is that supposed to be separate from the personal income tax filing? Because maybe that will also involve other earnings which is not related to the business you've set up. I probably sell water, but then I MC the program and got paid some honorarium, and maybe you expect me to pay tax. That cannot come in my water business. Do I do two filings, or do I consolidate it?
Income that I make is not this of AKS Enterprise makes, it's not distinct from me as Anthony Sapon, and therefore for tax purposes you use only one identification which is connected to the individual, and therefore if I sold water and I'm filing, it's the same tax. AKS Enterprise, who is now featuring as another enterprise, but it all comes to the same Anthony Sapon. So one identifier is what we need. So at the end of the year, when you are filing, you can aggregate all of these businesses on one form.
You can?
Yes.
Okay.
On one
because
form.
On your platform there seems to be a separate one.
You are using
on the portal there's a separate one for the personal income, isn't there?
One. So sometimes it's misunderstanding.
Let me just give you an example. Yes. Let's use an architect.
Yes.
This architect sets up a company, it's just them. It's new. They don't have anybody else. They may have somebody supporting, maybe not an employee, or maybe it was just one. You register it as AKS Architects. I get that the filing, the number is one and everything and all of that. Then this other person, architect, gets called to come and teach at a school of architecture for maybe 6 months and gets paid some money as a lecturer. In the financial year, is he filing what he earned from the teaching as part of AKS Architects or separately? If he files it at one, is he not giving wrong information that we earned 30 CDs when, as a matter of fact, the firm earned 25 and the 5 is from teaching? How does that work?
So in the financial year, this architect will file only one form with one tax identifier. Assuming that is his Ghana card, then Ghana card is a primary identifier and his name. So in the form, a provision is made for business income. In that business income, he will fill the income he made from AKS architect. Then he will go to employment income. He will fill the income he made from teaching. Then you go to investment. Maybe he's put up a 2-story bedroom and he's earning rent income there. He will put that also there. So all of this will be aggregated under his name and one identification. Then one final tax will be determined for this architect for the whole year.
I get
I
it.
hope that clarifies the.
I hope that's also clear there.
Yes.
So that everybody gets that is one. There will just be different components
Of it.
for different earnings outside of that bracket. That's it. And then you can do it. I get it. Let me come down here again and this time begin the round with you, Alex. It's also key for record keeping. I mean, it's a long time ago when my brother came to my law office, small, we're starting. I remember him giving me some template and telling me that, look, whenever you do this, just write it. When you do that, just record it. Let us know what you did, what went out, what did you use the money for. Some money came in, don't worry. You spent it on something, just record it. That way, you can always have a graph of activities, all of that. Bookkeeping or whatever, we can't afford a bookkeeper, all of that. What advice would you give to our young brothers and sisters here in this day and age as to how they can manage these records? Because sometimes maybe somebody may not pay, not so much because they don't want to, but they don't remember what happened 11 months ago, or how they came about their money, or how it was used. Truthfully, what's your advice as to the proper record keeping purposes on how to run their businesses?
Right. So in terms of SMEs, let me look at where we are going with modified taxation system. CG in his wisdom is realizing that taxpayers within the SME space are having a difficulty with records.
Yes.
So the modified taxation system is one avenue where taxpayers are not supposed to keep so much records. Basically what you do is, it's a simplified form. You go there, once you complete it, you tell us the activities you engaged in and then how much you're supposed to pay. But it's based on your turnover. So as long as your turnover is, let's say, below 20,000 for the defined period, that means you're going to pay, taxes by installment. If I'm doing, let's say, between 20,000 and then, let's say, 500,000, then I'm also going to pay by a different means. But however, if I'm making more than 500,000, then we realize that you are playing the big boys game. Then section 27 of the RA will kick in. The basic records.
So what is that section 27? It kicks in what way?
No, it deals with maintaining documents.
Okay,
Like,
so at that stage you begin to
at that
demand.
stage, then of course,
Okay.
because your turnover is quite huge.
Okay.
So those basic records. So if I'm doing sales, just keep the basic sales record. And in this instance, CG is saying that as long as you are engaged in a taxable supply, then the only invoice you can issue is Commissioner General's invoice.
Okay.
If I'm also doing purchases, you also try as much as you can to retain all those purchase documents that you have.
Okay.
It will also be good for you to even retain those purchase documents, VAT invoices, because as it were, you may even use it to recover input tax as against the output tax that you charge.
Right.
Then all other basic business accounting records, that comes into play. So it means that
Okay.
those within the down the ladder are not supposed to keep, as it were, records.
Okay.
That is, if your turnover is quite minimal,
Right.
so that we don't worry you with what records do you have, but if we can see that your turnover has graduated
Yes.
from below 20 to between 20 and 500 and up, then it means you should be able to keep those basic records, which is what you would use to complete or populate your personal income tax return.
Okay.
Be it by way of business, employment, or investment.
Commissioner, I see you moving your microphone.
Yeah. Just want to add to it to say that record keeping is good for businesses and it's good for you as an entrepreneur and it's good for companies. So when you start your business, it's very important to keep records first and foremost for yourself. Okay. So you can have a simple book every day, how much you make, record it.
Okay.
Like you said you were taught. How much you are paying, you record it. If you can pay through your Momo account or bank account, it's even easier. Because that one, you have actual records being kept there. What we are saying is that sometimes the cost of hiring somebody to do it for you is so burdensome.
Yes, I can't afford Professor actually.
When your turnover is up to 200 or below,
right.
As GRA, when we come, we're not going to ask you, show us the expenses and how we're not going to show you. We only ask you, show us the income you made.
Okay.
Then we'll apply a percentage of it.
Okay.
But although we are not asking you, first and foremost, you yourself, you need to know how much you are making,
right.
how much expenses you are incurring, and the profit you are making. So it's a good practice to have.
Okay.
Then number two, as your business grows, it's going to be a requirement anyway to have it. And you have to employ people to do it for you if you cannot do it. So if you start early, it's good practice, although we may not demand it. So sometimes you have accounting, taxation, business students in the university, hire some of them on part-time basis.
Okay.
As they are studying, they are earning a little income and they are helping. So this is one way to use the very students to help small businesses to do. And you can keep it manual, or you get one computer, put it in Excel, is good enough. But as he said, in terms of your income, if you are above the threshold, you use what we call the Commissioner General's invoice, which in this case we call the VAT invoice.
Okay.
You don't need to go and print your own invoice and incur costs.
Okay.
We give it to you, and then you use it.
You're talking about the book, the VAT book?
Yes, the VAT book. If you use it, at least it keeps, already you are keeping records of your turnover.
Right.
And at each point in time, anybody can take it and tabulate for you. Of course, if you buy something to demand your invoice and receipt, and I said demand your VAT invoice. That way, it also allows you to be able to take part of the VAT cost you are incurring from your turnover, which is beneficial to business.
So that point for you, and based on experience, once upon a time I had a TV show, and where I interviewed people, and I owned the TV show. At the beginning, I had some sponsorship. And then the TV station will say, pay us X amount. So I calculate the X amount and all of that. The TV station will sell the airtime to you. Then it brings a VAT component. So the sponsorship I was getting really was not covering my costs at the start. Why? Because the TV station looks at it and says, okay, the sponsor says, I'll give you 20 CDs. TV station says, my airtime, for example, is maybe 17 CDs. They calculate VAT and everything. We've come to 22 CDs. I have a 22 CD shortfall. The only reason for that, as Commissioner is saying, was because I was the final burden carrier of the VAT. So I couldn't do the input-output thing. But once I registered for VAT, and this is my personal story, experience. Once I registered, and I got that input-output advantage, when the TV station brought this to me, I also issued a VAT invoice to the sponsor, including that VAT component. So when that was struck out, I could now gain from that 17 CDs originally that I was getting. So it's really key. Sometimes people may think, I don't register because I don't want to pay tax. Trust me, the VAT thing rather helps you. You are not the final consumer. The VAT, it pushes all the way down the line to the final consumer. So in making the advertiser the final consumer, or the person, your customer, the final consumer of that thing, I think it helps. I mean, I don't know if it's a useful point to make.
And on top of that, you see, for every tax you pay, the law puts 4% aside. So even if you don't make enough sales to deduct all, at the end of the year, you can come to GRA and say that I pay all this input tax,
right,
but I couldn't make enough sales, and
right,
we will refund it to you.
Oh wow! Please say that again.
So this is the refund, the refund mechanism.
Please explain this refund.
Yes.
Did you get it? The refund. Did you get it? No. Okay, please explain it.
So in
we
our
want our money
laws,
back.
we have what we call the refund mechanism. So principally, if you overpay taxes, the law says we should give it back to you. If you overpay taxes, the law says we should give it back to you.
Okay.
So every tax that each person pays in this country, 4% is kept in an account, which is managed by the Commissioner General. So at the end of the year, if, let's say, you bought some items, VAT, you intended to sell, and you eventually couldn't sell, which means that the VAT you paid is more than what you were expecting to get. You didn't.
Okay.
You can apply for a refund because you have paid taxes which you couldn't recover. So that is one way. The other one is we ask people to pay taxes on installment basis, either
Okay.
monthly or quarterly.
Okay.
At the end of the year, if you file your returns, at the time that you were paying, for example, if you are married, there's what we call marriage relief.
Right.
We didn't deduct. If you have children in school going up to 3, is it 3 or 4? 3, the education that you are paying, we give you a certain relief.
Okay.
We didn't deduct when you were paying.
Okay.
If you are looking after an aged person in your family, and you show that indeed there's those dependents upon you, we give you a relief.
Okay.
All of this, when you are paying the course of the year, we don't deduct. So at the end of the year, when you file and you claim this relief, it will turn out to be that you have paid more taxes than you ought to be. Again, from this refund account, you're supposed to what? Pay back the money to you.
Okay.
So the taxation is not one way.
Okay.
Is when you have overpaid, the law makes provision for us to return some monies to you. So it's encouragement to file your returns, demonstrate that you have overpaid, and duly will refund the taxes to you.
Francis, I want to move on to the portal, the tax portal, and also leveraging technology. All the key points I have here. I think it's very critical. I mean, this generation is more tech savvy. And not many of them, I'm sure, would like to do this long queues, come to your offices are still open, but can be a bit frustrating. How do they leverage technology, and how do they find their way around your portal? And again, there's also the internet difficulty. If you file in the end, sometimes the page just, and then it comes back and says it was not recorded, it was not filed. What's the way out of all of this conundrum?
So I think that digitalization is the way to go now. So those days where we used to fill forms and then go to the GRE office and then pay with check or cash, we've moved out from that angle. Today, mobile money has over almost 28 million users. So if you want to pay taxes, GRE has a short code that you can use to pay the taxes. Now, I agree with you that sometimes getting to the latter part of the deadline, Ghanaians, we like the last minute thing. So everybody will jump onto the network and then the network will get a bit choked. But if you want to file your returns, which is mandatory anyway, even including employees, if you are an employee, you are supposed to file your return. And if you fail to file, the law says Commissioner General should take 500 cedis for the default, and then every day 10 cedis until you file. So you just go to the taxpayers portal, and the forms, I think that the GRA has done very well. They have simplified it. It's so simple, such that you log on, put in the various components. There are boxes. You just put in the numbers, and then the engine behind the software will automatically calculate the tax.
And let me advise them: if you're writing 2000, don't write 2000. Write 200.00 before the engine calculates. The engine works with the .00. I mean, at first I used to have that problem.
Yeah.
Until I called a friend and he said, "Oh, Charlie, just add the .0." Immediately you do that, it calculates everything for you. So you don't need a calculator.
Exactly.
Right.
So you do that, and the system will do the calculations for you. But we always advise that you do it a bit early so that you don't go the last minute. And if you have any challenge, just walk to any nearest GRA office, and the taxpayer service will gladly walk you through, and then you can file your returns smoothly. I think that the digitalization has really helped. In fact, even midnight, before the deadline, you can sit in your comfort, do and pay everything online, and it makes compliance a bit easier compared to the previous days when it was 5 p.m. and if you don't walk fast, the GRA office will close.
It will close.
Now today you can do everything, and GRA has stopped accepting cash anyway, so you can pay at the bank or you can pay using the mobile money, and there's no e-levy.
There's no e-levy. Let me stay with you and talk about tax incentives and reliefs that are available to SMEs. I mean, really, tax, as we all know, somebody went to Jesus Christ to ask whether they should go and pay the tax. It tells you that reluctance is not a new thing. And Jesus did not say yes or no. He took out a coin, we are told, and he said, whose image is on this? And he said, Caesar. He said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God.
Yeah.
It tells you something. The lesson around there is that people don't just get up and say, I don't have to ask Jesus. I'm sure that person was actually hoping that you say, we live for God, we are spirit beings, don't pay the tax. The person may have been disappointed. So maybe the willingness, etc., may not be great. The incentive for that person was that the master himself said, give unto Caesar, give unto God what is God. What is your word to them? How do you advise them to give to you?
So the
Are
first,
there any incentives for them?
there are. The first point that I think we need to educate ourselves is that tax is the only way we can use to develop the country, because there's no other way. We have some countries where they are naturally endowed with things like fuel or crude oil, so they rely mostly on crude. But as far as Ghana is concerned, tax is going to be one of the key revenue sources. Now, within the tax law, there are design incentives that are either supposed to encourage some behavior towards some sectors of the economy. So government will decide that we need food sufficiency. So let us give incentive to people who go into agriculture. Now, agric is becoming more attractive, especially to the youth. So government has incentives for agric. So within agric, we have several sectors. You can go into tree crop. You can go and say, I want to do coconut farming. I want to go into mango farming. And there are incentives for that. You can also, in fact, in 2017, government passed a law just to entice what we call the young entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And young entrepreneurs, we mean young people who are below 35 years. Government selected about 5 priority areas that you can go in there, and then for the first 5 years, you don't pay anything. You don't pay any tax. You can make millions of cedis and then you take your money away. After 5 years, depending on where you are located, there are also some incentives that your rate, instead of you maybe paying a higher rate like those of us maybe in other sectors, because you are a young person, your rate is lower.
Okay.
And then you enjoy that. So various incentives exist. You want to go into agric, you want to go into tree crop, you want to go into waste processing. The challenge that I mostly have is that at age 35, sometimes the capital, it becomes a big problem. So for example, I want to go into waste processing, collecting bola and processes into commercial use. Where am I going to get the money from? But if we can come together as, partners and do it, the law grants us that exemption, and you can use it to start up within the period where you don't pay tax. More or less you are reinvesting the capital. Then maybe after 35 years, then you start paying tax.
Commissioner, I'll come. Okay.
Let me also add, so sometimes there are what we call the locational incentive. And you can be purposeful about where you set up your office if it is convenient and proper. So if you are, the normal tax is 25. So within Accra, Tema Enclave it is. If you move into any regional office, for example, to say that is your base, automatically you slash 25% off that 25.
It comes to zero?
No.
Oh, you mean 25%
so
of the 25?
75%
You take a quarter
of the
of it.
25.
Okay.
Yes. If you are outside a regional zone into a district or any other place outside the regional Accra enclave, you have 50% off.
Wow.
So if for example we are in this area, instead of bringing your office to Pokwase, you can decide to go to Insawam. Then you are in Eastern region.
Right.
So automatically, and Insawam is not a regional capital. So automatically, you've taken off % of your 25 off. So these are also purposeful ways to locate your offices, and you get advantage of it. Number 2, a lot of our young people are also looking for export. And then the export, the VAT on export is 0 rated. So again, when you export, your VAT is 0 rated. So this is a case where you use inputs in Ghana, you pay the VAT, but your export is what? 0.
Let me get a clarification on that. So does that mean that if you also do work for a foreign entity, sometimes as a lawyer, you get a Canadian, say I'm considering investing will happen when this and that occur. That person is not doing anything in Ghana. That person just wants to know from across the Atlantic. If you write that legal opinion, is that an export of service which is zero rated for VAT?
So that can be technical, but we have to define by what we call the location of consumption.
Uh-huh.
So if it is goods, the goods will physically move.
Yes.
So the location of exemption is easy to prove.
Yes.
Is zero. If it is services, and you can demonstrate that the one who requested the service and their usage of it is outside the jurisdiction of Ghana, then it qualifies as an export of service. Then it's going to be zero.
Okay.
But sometimes the complexity is that somebody will ask for it outside, but they are using it for a business which is situated in Ghana.
Yes.
So you then see that although they are paying from outside, the consumption is in Ghana.
I get you.
Then you don't qualify for that status.
I get you. I have a question for, but let me.
But the point I was making was that for businesses that also export,
yes,
the export income taxes are very low.
Right.
So if you are able to go through a free zone registration, your first 10 years is you don't pay a tax. Your tax, the 25% is zero for you.
Okay.
Thereafter, the law gives a percentage, 8% or sometimes 15%. But even
for
if you export, even if you don't register at all, the tax you pay is 8%. Even if you don't go formally to register with free zone, you don't have a certificate which is giving you the 10 years, then the tax you are paying is also 8% as against the 25. So again, for the young entrepreneurs, don't just run away from registering. If you are doing things that you're exporting, you already have an incentive that gives you a lower tax to pay. So you must as well register and correctly take advantage of that. Yes.
And just to add that the biggest incentive we have is when you are located in the north.
In where?
The north.
The north.
The northern region. I think it's intended that we want to drive most businesses to those areas. So it's a very, lucrative investment destination as far as tax is concerned.
Alex, there's also the issue about tax audits. I mean, what should people prepare? How should companies or SMEs generally prepare for that? Because it can be quite scary for people. Hey, challenge people, they come. People are worried, what this, taking this, hiding this, or whatever. Are there key considerations for SMEs when it comes to preparing for these tax audits that you'd advise them to have?
Right, thanks. So basically, we're in a self-assessment regime, which means GRA expects you to sit in the comfort of your zone or home and then compute the tax that is payable and file your return with us. So in so doing, like Commissioner General said, you ought to make sure that you maintain the minimal records that you are supposed to. So it is only in my interest, if I'm an SME, to make sure that if I'm selling, do I have a small book where I record all these sales? If I purchased, do I have another book, or do I receive invoices where maybe I'll keep those invoices? Or if I employ one or two people, for that matter, I will not be around. How would I also check whether these people are making sure the business is running in my absence? So basically, it calls for record keeping. But in this state, it's one-sided because it's you, the person or the owner of the business, who is doing all this recording of the sales and then all these purchases. When you file with GRA, at our end, we don't have an overview of what you have done, but we receive all that you filed with us once you file on the portal. However, over a period of time, under Section 36, Commissioner General has a way of selecting from the information that we've received. So CG will look at, what is the history of returns that have come to me? Then he will start analyzing them. Okay, what is the history of payments that have come to me? He starts analyzing them. But in so doing, he will use a risk profiling. And he will realize that maybe Niade has filed his return and he's been punctual for every month. Maybe Kojo is also filing. He's doing like a stop filer. He files January, he doesn't file in February, he files in March. Then there's another person who doesn't file at all. So in the system,
we have what we call the history of your filing. We have your history of payments. But when we do the risk profiling, we'll first go to the person who has not filed at all, but is registered with us. Then maybe if we should, let's say, scale them, the next person is the person who was doing the stop filing. He filed January, didn't file in February, but he filed in March. And then you filed throughout. So you realize that you don't even worry yourself at all. So it can serve as a parameter to select a taxpayer to then audit. So basically, when we come to you, what we do is we are going to first of all write to you an introductory letter, which has 2 additional letters. One letter to tell you of your rights as a taxpayer, another one to tell you how to object if you disagree with the audits that you want to conduct, and the last one, the records that you have that you'd give to us, which we would use to audit you. So the auditing is not done by way of we sitting in the office and then no. Basically, we'll write to you, inform you, and there are times taxpayers or our clients will tell us that, look, at this time I'm too busy. And then we'll tell them, okay, tell us when you think it's appropriate for you to allow us to come. And then they'll give us the time to come. So basically, when we come to you, it's the records that you kept, the small books that you have. But you know, once you register your business with the Office of Registrar of Companies, then you're also mandated there to keep some minimal records. Those records form as a basis for our tax audits. And then when we complete the audit, we'll give you a draft and then you respond to the issues. If you're okay with the issues, then you go ahead with whatever findings that we gave to you. If you're not, then the initial letter that we give to you, it tells you how to object, or if there are rights that maybe GRA also didn't adhere to, you can invoke those statements and then the Commissioner General will seek address. So for example, you can come back to GRA when we give you the draft report. How did you calculate these taxes?
Okay.
Where did you get these records? Is it from my books? So basically they will go back again. Can you please give us the first document to give us? The notice to produce records, where you've listed or you itemized all the records you gave to us. Oh, for your sales, we picked it from this book. Then you realize that the taxpayer or the entrepreneur will say, oh, no, this wasn't meant for sales. This was meant for some. So once we do the judge-oing, we are able then to come to a conclusion. And then at the end of the day, our tax audit is completed. But sometimes too, the issues escalate to the courts.
Yeah, it's gone even to the Supreme Court in terms of, whether you can just
so
say.
let me add on to that, and it's also part of job creation. So the Institute of Chartered Institute of Taxation is training a lot of young tax practitioners. The business schools are training a lot of young people in business administration and taxation. Sometimes you, the business owner, may not necessarily even understand the tax laws.
Right.
When you are dealing with the tax officials, it's difficult to even make your point. So it's a good practice sometimes to have an advocate, a young lawyer who understands taxation, or a young tax practitioner who has graduated to help you. Agree a minimum amount to pay, so they help you, support you to explain the process, and be able to speak on your behalf with the tax officials, and that can be very, very helpful. But we are also working on what we call the Independent Tax Appeals Board. So, the process of going through the law courts is very tedious, and a lot of people will not even want to go and hire a lawyer to go and defend their tax cases in court. And sometimes, even when they do, it goes all the way to Supreme Court. That's a long process. So we have what is in our law, the Independent Tax Appeal Board, which the law has created, to say this is a friendly environment, that if you have a tax issue that you disagree with GRA, go to this board, they will call GRA, they will call you, and without going through the formality like a court process, sit down and listen to the 2 cases and adjudicate. That law has been passed, the body has been established. We're working through their regulations. We believe that when Parliament returns in November before the end of the year, the regulations will be passed. So going forward, that's an easy environment for both GRA and the taxpayer, because we don't want to be going too much at court. Sometimes by the time you finish, one party is bruised, and although you are friends, and we call them customers, one is not happy.
Right.
We don't want that process. But as for the appeals board, we all go there, they give us a friendly treatment, and once we all accept, if GRA is at fault, GRA will just recall its demands. If the taxpayer has to pay, then they can also pay. Let me also say that sometimes the demands of cash flow can be very difficult on businesses.
Right.
So the law also allows us that when you legitimately accept that you have an obligation, you can come to GRA and say, look, I really want to pay my money, but the truth is I don't have the money. So spread this over 6 months or 12 months for us. So the law empowers GRA to also do that arrangement.
Okay.
So again, these are some of the means that businesses can speak to us, we can agree, and then you pay your taxes over time instead of leaving it and not paying. Because when you don't pay, it's like government is funding you, and it attracts a huge interest. And 1 year interest alone could be 50% of what you're supposed to pay.
Sure.
So they should take advantage of that. Yeah.
There are so many more questions even from me, and I've not invited anybody from here, but our time is fast spent. I'm surprised we have practically done 1 hour already and a little bit more. Is there any question at least I should take?
Maybe before you go there, if I could clarify the
Yes,
VAT.
clarify. I was going to close with it.
Right.
But yeah, I was going to close as your final word with it. So I don't know if we have time, but I mean, it would be good to just take 1 or 2, a maximum of 3 questions. Okay, yes. Please introduce yourself and make it a question to the point.
Okay. I'm Ni Ama Ebenezer with Heritage University. My question is from the first point you made about a lady calling you from the GRA. What I realized from there is about customer service issues. So I want to find out from the commissioner what you are doing about customer service, how your staff interact with. There is a tag that with the GRA, you are not friendly. How do you clarify that? The second one is about the relationship between GRA and the Registrar General. The same, I'm picking this question from what Robert said, that he has already, that business is not in existence. Registrar General is aware, but it seems GRA is not aware. My last one is an appeal, that this is the maiden Boateng Business Conference. It's an appeal I'm making. If GRA and other organizations here can take this and be sponsoring us every year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we'll take some 2 more. Let's go to the corner. The gentleman with his hands up over there.
Thank you very much. My name is Kwame Chumisi-Ankra. I'm with Heritage. My question is, there was a mention of the tax portal. Is it an app or a website, and how do people
The tax
access?
portal.
Yes.
Okay.
And then is there also period to file taxes in Ghana like we have in the US and other advanced
Is there a
countries?
period for filing taxes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that question. I think we should bunch it together. It will help. Then we can take many and close it all. Let's get the lady, please. We have had too many male voices here. Can we have the lady in green?
Okay. Thank you. My name is Rosalind, and then my question is, citizens and businesses work hard to earn their income, and then a portion of that goes to taxes. And while we understand that these funds support national development, how do individuals and companies benefit from the taxes they pay to the government? Because considering these taxes are derived from their hand-earned income and profits, how do
citizens benefit?
Yes.
That's a fantastic question. I think that those will be the questions. But Commissioner, they look like a lot of them are directed at you, your customer service, what kind of benefits do people get, and things like that. And the filing times and periods and all of that. And then what's the GRA portal? He's asking. Is it an app? What is it?
Thank you very much. So I will start, and my colleagues can add up to it. So the first question that came in terms of the customer experience. So that is people and culture issues. And as GRA, we have told ourselves that we want to be human-centered. So if you are going to be human-centered, then we have to bring things that makes our engagement with the public and the taxpayer that feels an experience that they always will welcome to. So you will notice that we've started calling taxpayers our tax customers. That will mean that it puts an obligation on us to treat them with respect, to treat them with dignity, and to treat them as partners in development. So at the moment, we have established what we call Customer Experience Department in GRE. It's a young department, but we started by an annual engagement. So the last 2 weeks or so, we had a conference that we engaged the public in terms of what does the public expect us in terms of the experience they want to have and what we should be giving to them. It's something that we are going to scale up to make sure that across all our offices and across all our staff, they learn the habit of customer experience engagement with taxpayers. So this is work in progress. We do acknowledge there are challenges in that area, but we are working so hard that at some point in time, we can say that GRA has become a more customer-friendly, a more human-centered institution in that respect. But of course, there are occasions sometimes, because it's about taxes, and sometimes people, if I use the word, have a challenge or resist to pay tax. The law allows us to employ some other ways of collecting the tax, and that obviously, those instances are not comfortable. But those are rare situations that we should employ those tools of the law, but not the norm. I think there's
a follow-up about your relationship or synergy with the Office of the Registrar of Companies.
Registrar of Companies. So you will notice that Registrar of Companies, so there are now two government agencies in what used to be Registrar General's Department.
Yes.
So we now have the Registrar General's Department, whose mandate is to register for businesses, sole proprietors, and partnership, and administer other things. Then we have the Office of Registrar of Companies, so ORC. They used to be together, but we have these two institutions separated by law recently. Yes. So GRA, our relationship with them is very important because they are the first point of registration of businesses. And at that point, what we've done with the two institutions is that we generate a TIN for the person registering a business if they don't have. So if you are an individual, your Ghana card is your TIN. Then from that point of view, we know you. If you're a corporate, you are supposed to have a corporate TIN before you register the business. So again, we have a relationship with ORC where they are able to process and generate the TIN.
But what about the information? How come something happens there, GRA may not know, and things like that?
So the first phase is this relationship. The second phase, we are moving into a full integration.
Okay.
So as I explained to you, early next year, a new GRA system will come into force. In fact, that is going to integrate not only with Registrar of Companies or ORC, but some of the other major institutions like SNIT, all those where we have data. So that way, as soon as you register a business, you are already in the GRA system, and we know you, and then we can also engage you. So the registration that we talk about going forward from next year is going to be seamless. What you file at Registrar of Companies on ORC will already be populated into the GRA system. So when you come to you, it's about confirming, have you got everything correct? Once you take yes, then we have the information. That way, we will not wait to come and find you physically. We use the data we have, and that's part of our data and insight strategy, again, we spoke about.
Okay, and as we round up, can we get an answer for the gentleman? GRA portal, GRA portal, GRA portal, what is it?
So the portal is both an app and also a web-based system. So you can type in taxpayers portal. It will take you there, and then you will see the profile where you are supposed to put your tax identification number. In this case, if you're an individual, your Ghana card. You put it in, and then you can log on, and then you transact. If you are the first time logging on, it will ask you to reset. Remember when you were doing your Ghana card, you used some phone number. So if you are resetting, a code will be sent to that phone number. If it is confirmed, then you can log on. Otherwise, you can go to, you can call the GRA numbers, which Alex will be putting up. They can assist you. But I think I agree with the first questioner. Yes, GRA is in transition. We're waiting for a time where GRA customer service will be like the telcos or the ECGs, where you call and then somebody can easily pick. I agree, Commissioner General is less than a year in office, but some improvement is ongoing. And then there was also a question about the timeline for filing. In Ghana, the law requires that 4 months after the year end, which means that 30th of April the following year, you are supposed to file. Whether you're a business or individual, you're supposed to file your returns. Remember, if you fail to file or submit the returns, which is about your taxes and the income and everything that you have earned online, the law imposes a penalty, 500 cedis, first day. So 1st April, you're going to pay 500 cedis, and then every day that the default continues, you are paying 10 cedis. There are some embassies in Ghana where if you are applying for their visa, they will ask you to produce tax clearance certificate. If you have not filed before, you cannot get that tax clearance certificate. I know of some colleagues where they were traveling. Some were even applying for scholarship for their awards. And then the school were asking for tax clearance, and then they were stranded. You have to go online, pay the penalties before the system will allow. So you can go online and then you can get the services. I think Alex has some.
And then let's not forget our lady. She's people always hard-earned money. They should pay tax. What do they really get out of it? Maybe she cannot see. I don't know whether Commissioner wants to take that or Alex wants to take that. We want Commissioner to take it. Commissioner, really. She says, what's the benefit to her?
Yes. Thank you very much. So I always tell people that they ask me, what work do you do? You are collecting. I say, no, I'm doing national development work. So basically, the nation has to develop, and the nation develop with building infrastructure, building roads, building schools, building hospitals, and creating the environment for individuals and businesses to thrive. And that is what, as individuals and as a group of businesses, we have to come together, pay our taxes, and then the government will use those taxes to pay. So as I was driving here, I saw two different streams of road infrastructure. The one which is the asphalt dual carriage, and then once I branch off, then I was on the normal rough road, as we normally call it.
Yeah.
So you can see the portion of the asphalt all the way you branch off is from the taxes that you have paid, which is building that road. But we hope that one day the money will be sufficient and all the road to the university will be tied. That will be an example of you benefiting from that. So you talked about today you are in the university, or you want to call your mother or your sister in the village, your mobile telephony is working, right? So apart from the operators, you have the government NCA that regulates them and makes sure that they are doing that. That has to be funded. Come out with the policy. So again, you're able to call because the infrastructure is being built and somebody is regulating that. So all of these are part of what we use our taxes for national development.
So I think just to add, so the payment to the police, the people teachers who teach our sisters, and all of these things are coming from the small VAT, corporate tax that you pay. But I think one thing that we are also missing, and we've made a recommendation to government, is that people want to see what the taxes are being used for. So why don't we brand the project that we are doing and say, this is your tax at work. So Pokwase in Sawam Road, if it is really from government tax revenue, let us tell the people so that when I'm driving, passing by, I know that the COVID-19, or maybe the PAY that I have paid went into this road, and therefore at least I can be satisfied. As we speak now, everything goes into the bowl, and how it is allocated, we don't know. So I agree with my sister's question.
Alex, I'll take a final word from you, and then I'll close with Commissioner.
Right. So I think the last answer goes to satisfy the question you're asking. You know, levies are short-lived. So like the national health you said, all those payments that goes there is used to fund the national health insurance. And again, they get fund educational projects. But for the customer experience question that you gave to us, we also have numbers that you can give feedback to GRA on any experience that you have or any questions that you want to ask. Maybe there are many people here who wanted to ask questions, they were not able to. So if you don't mind, I want to share our toll-free number and the other numbers so that even if we leave here, you can still call us. If there's any experience you didn't enjoy, please give us the feedback and we'll still work on it. So if you don't mind, I can go with the number.
Yes, please.
So 0800 900 110. The toll-free number again, 0800 900 110. Or give other contacts, 0209 267 047. Again, 020 9267 047. And we also have WhatsApp lines. You can send us a message and we'll respond quickly.
Interesting.
The WhatsApp lines are as follows: 0200 631 664. The WhatsApp again, 020 063 1664, and then 055 299 0000. The last number again, 055 299 0000. Or if you want to write, you can go to customerexperience@gra.gov.gh. We want to hear from you. We want to talk taxes. We want to build this nation, and then we'll be able to mobilize more revenue for the state. Thank
So
you.
we take a final comment from Commissioner, what you really wanted to throw some light on, which you say the good news. And while at it, final example, I have a personal friend, a medical doctor. He used to run a restaurant somewhere in the city. He was there for years. The other day I asked him what was happening. He says, I've converted it into residences, some sort of apartments. What's happening? He says, Robert, the GRA comes, we show them a document. They say this cannot be what we earn from an eatery. So the GRA has its own idea of what I earn. I tell them we got 100,000 over this period. They say no. You sell banku, you sell tilapia, you send water, you sell what? You got 300,000. And this American doctor, he's about 70 years old. It's just something he does to supplement his income. And he says, it's now a residential place. I have contracts covering it. People pay their rent. When they come, I show it to them. They look at the percentage, they take that, they go away. People in the area are complaining because it was really good food. But I can't do it because the GRA insists that I earn what I don't earn. That image problem right there for you. People feel like they set up business and GRA is hounding them. How does that encourage anybody to do business? We are talking about Boateng Business Conference. If I think the GRA is going to say, I got 10,000 when I actually got 5, what's the point? Please answer that and then close up with my good news.
Thank you. The issues about taxation and challenges will continue to be there. And as I said, when we talk about taxation, it should be fair, it should be convenient, and it should be transparent. So sometimes we have instances where there's no sufficient, because as he mentioned, we sometimes risk profile where businesses are, and we expect that their businesses will generate something. If it turns out it's not the case, that's why we have the public lines. The friend can call or write to the Commissioner General that not stop that business. We want the business to survive. We want the business to survive or transform into another business and work with, and indicate what the person do is that we'll set up a different team to come and look at the situation and provide an advice and ensure that the issue is settled. So sometimes taxpayers, when they deal with our officers, believe that that is the end point. It's not the end point. There's always the opportunity to write to the Commissioner General to explain their point. And once that is done, we'll take a careful look at it and make sure that we deal with the matter. Because at the end of the day, taxes will be paid by individuals and businesses. And that's why we say GRA, we are partners with businesses in national development. If the businesses are not surviving and growing, ultimately there will be no taxes to collect and there will be no money to fund national development. So our ultimate aim is to work with businesses to grow and increase employment and income, then ultimately we get the taxes. Back to the issue on the VAT as your matter, which he calls tax on tax. So let me take the opportunity to explain. So in Ghana, we have the nominal VAT at 15%. Then, in addition to the 15%, we have the 2.5% GET fund to support education. And I said 2.5%. Then we have another 2.5% to support national health insurance. And then we have the COVID levy, which is 1%. So bringing the nominal rate to 19%.
Correct.
What we have currently done is what we call the decoupling. So the decoupling means that after you've calculated the VAT, then the levies are applied on the VAT. So that's the point that you made, so that you are being made to pay a tax on tax.
Yes.
So that concept is called decoupling.
It's called what?
Decoupling.
Oh, decoupling.
So we are separating the tax from the levies and now applying the levies
Yes.
on the tax. So when you do that, the effective rate becomes 21.9%.
Okay.
Instead of the nominal VAT 15 or the nominal VAT plus levies of 19.
Yes.
What this government has indicated is that for every 100 Ghana cedi you have, basically 25% goes to taxes,
Yes.
which is too high for consumers and it stifles consumption. So you see that in 2025, the government removed some taxes. In the media budget, the minister signals that the COVID levy will go.
Okay.
So in 2026 budget, the minister is going to affirm it, the 1% is going to go. Secondly, this decoupling is also going to go.
It should go.
So when that happens, the rate will drop to 20%.
Yes.
Which is your nominal 15 plus your 2.5, making the 20.
Simple.
So let's patiently pay and patiently also wait that in November when the minister goes to parliament, this proposal will be made and hopefully from 2026, your problem will be solved.
Thank you very much. And please put your hands together for them. And I definitely must apologize to you. We went a bit beyond the allotted time, and please forgive us. But I think it was very useful to all of us. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. Before I let them go, though, I'm going to invite Professor Williams Atuelik. He's Vice President of Heritage Christian University, to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Robert. Before I do what I wanted to do, because of the time, instead of taking a break out, we will have them bring the refreshments down so that the next session will continue, so we don't stretch too much with time. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all the panelists, starting with my senior, Mr. Anthony Kwesi-Sapor. We are so grateful that you made time, to come. And let me thank you on behalf of management of the university. He was the senior partner for KPMG before he went as GRA, and he had a special heart for this university. Every year, he gave us a huge slot of internship for our accounting students, and we want to appreciate you for that. And the request that my brother Niyama made, we want to hope that as we go forward, the Boateng Business Conference will continue to get your attention and your kind sponsorship. So thank you very much. And I want to also thank my very good friends, Francis Timor and then Alexander Harvey, for responding to this call and coming and providing very insightful thoughts on the issue of taxation. And my own brother, Niade, we are not done with you yet. You will still continue to moderate the rest of it. But he is an excellent, one of my pride is that he was my classmate. And so I pride myself with that. So thank you so much. But this is the Boateng Business Conference in honor of the illustrious business icon, Dr. Douglas Boateng. And we are very privileged to have him with us here. And for those of you who do not know, he exemplifies the values that this university stands for, using business as a basis for serving humanity, doing business with conviction, with innovation, and responding to good, responsible practices, and using his businesses as a platform in more than 8 African countries to do God's work. And so, Dr. Douglas Boateng, we are so grateful for the example that you have set. Many of the young entrepreneurs here will follow after your example. And so, thank you very much. We will, move down. And then, as for you, you will continue with the rest of the program. So, we will not take a break. If you are tired, you can just stretch back and forth. But the people who are serving the refreshments, they will bring it down so that we save 1 hour and finish on time. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yes, we should. Please, let's take a picture of us. Let's